And now back to the River City Roundtable on WBOB AM 600, The Answer.
Welcome back to the River City Roundtable. Joining the roundtable now, he's a candidate for circuit judge, David Trotti, joining us by phone. Mr. Trotti, welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Doing well. So, long and the short of it is you are running for circuit judge. That is Nassau, Duval, and Clay County. Why are you running?
I am running because I can make a difference on our bench. I believe that I can bring more efficiency to our case management and give our litigants and our attorneys more access to the judges.
Mr. Trotti, if you could you get off the speakerphone? It's a little bit echoey here over the air, if possible.
Is that better?
Much better.
Yeah, great sound. Great sound. Thank you. All right, since I've got the floor, I may as well. Okay, David, there's a couple things I wanted to ask you. First of all, that's Group 9 you're running for, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, the role of a circuit judge, I think there's several different roles. One of them, obviously, is the probate side, and then you have the civil and the criminal. Isn't there one that I'm missing here?
Well, we have family law judges. We have 35 circuit court judges. We have 7 that are assigned to just family law cases. We have 2 that are assigned to dependency and 1 juvenile.
Okay.
Then we have the circuit civil, and we have the criminal court.
Okay, so you guys really don't know where you're actually going to be placed until you actually get into the office itself. Isn't that how that works?
Well, right now we're both going against each other to replace Judge Davis, who's sitting on the juvenile bench.
All right, let me ask you this part. The musician side, that obviously made me raise an eyebrow. Anybody that's a musician is a friend of mine. What's your instrument?
Percussion.
Percussion? Okay. All right. There's one plus. We like him.
That's great.
Welcome to the show, sir. This is Frederick Wilson speaking. And just some information I'd like to learn a bit about you. What are you bringing differently to the table that your opponent will bring?
A lot of diversity in my background. I am a self-employed person. I was raised in a self-employed household. I've run a construction company. I've run a printing and advertisement company. I am a mediator since 2008. I have been appointed by our local judges and selected by our local attorneys to mediate over 1,200 cases since 2008. That's one huge aspect that sets me leaps and bounds apart from my opponent.
Now, we're joined by David Trotti. He's a candidate for circuit judge on AM 600 The Answer. It's the River City Roundtable. Now, Mr. Trotti, there was a lawsuit in 2014 that you were a part of that gained a little bit of local attention. Tell our listeners a little bit about that and how it plays into this election and this process.
In 2014, I was going to run as a candidate in I believe that was Group 12, Judge Moran's seat. He was to be resigning effective the last day of his term. I put my paperwork in to qualify, and I was rejected. So I filed suit with the state of Florida against Ken Detson, the Secretary of State, challenging whether that seat should go to appointment or to election, trying to clarify the process. It went up to the Supreme Court. It was shot down to the Circuit Court in Leon County for an evidentiary hearing. We then appealed it, and we lost 2-1. Judge Padovano on the District Court of Appeal, the First District Court of Appeal, wrote a dissent. Currently, there's 3 other cases that were before the Supreme Court a few weeks ago. All 3 of them were denied, and they're up on a writ of mandamus to have their seats also go to appointment. And 3 individuals sued the state of Florida, saying these seats should go to election, just like my case in 2014. All 7 justices up in the Supreme Court of Florida denied the writ of mandamus request unanimously, saying that was not the right vehicle. 4 out of the 7 justices concurred with the other justices in the ruling, but dissented, saying that the dissent in the 2014 Trotti v. Detzner case, the dissent that Judge Padovano wrote, should have won. And the seat in 2014, Group 12, Judge Moran's old seat, should have gone to the electorate to vote.
So you're a proponent of the electorate picking judges, the long and the short.
Until the Constitution's changed, that's what we have to uphold, the Constitution.
All right, I guess we got to follow the law. David, let's talk about a little bit of that military background and some federal law enforcement experience. Obviously, you being I almost made the mistake of saying a former Marine, but that's not right because you're always a Marine. But anyway, I think you're E6 up there. So is that a gunny?
No, that's a staff sergeant.
A staff sergeant, okay. Me being an Army guy, I don't know about all that stuff. I'll try to keep up with you guys on this. But, interestingly enough, you know as well as we do, we're seeing a lot of our soldiers return home with PTSD, and a lot of them end up in our courtrooms. Do you feel like they're being properly represented, or is there something we could do a little bit better to improve that?
Well, right now we have a military court handled by Magistrate Sampson, and I believe that's a very positive way to handle some of these cases. I have not spoken to Public Defender Matt Shirk or candidate former Judge Charlie Kofer on their thoughts of how the military courts can be improved or the access to those courts. Being a former Marine, I do believe that our military, especially in today's day and age, and the ones from the Korean and Vietnam era, do suffer from PTSD, and their plight and exchanges with the law enforcement are a lot different than normal citizens who don't have those impacts.
Well, that's pretty deep stuff. So we were talking to the sheriff of the election a while ago. They're saying one of the main places that we have a lot of our veterans, they wind up going to jail because of issues of not being understood on the street. So you'll probably definitely see a lot of those. But my question, or two questions that were coming from that: how much influence would you have as a circuit judge to be able to make those changes that you said might need to be made? And also, I looked, you might be doing some family court. How does that affect when we look at the things that's going on with the police shootings and the breakdown of the family? What can you do, or is there anything that you can do to encourage to rebuild these families and try and keep the recidivism rate for our young teens from coming back in front of you again and again and again?
Well, I was having a conversation with a young lady a couple of days ago, and I want to answer your question and go around my elbow a little bit here. I believe with our military and with our children, we talk about mental health issues and mental health awareness. We have a lot of money that handles the crisis level. You hear our sheriff talking about he has the largest mental health facility in Florida. Then we also talk a lot about prevention. We have a lot of money, a lot of efforts going towards prevention. I believe what we have to really focus on, whether it's our attorneys, our teachers, our police officer, or on the bench, family law, juvenile, is the recognition, the early recognition, and taking prophylactic measures to stop a child going down the path of a mental health issue. And that can be starting when we see signs of parents starting to separate, the early signs of the smaller domestic violence, especially when we have just a domestic violence situation, when we have a military personnel coming home from overseas, from serving our country, and then you have these long-term separations in families. What are the impacts on the children in these long terms? And these children, while they might not be direct victims of domestic violence as far as a battery or verbal or mental abuse, when they're stripped from one parent or the other, there is a mental effect there. And those are the early recognitions that we have to try to recognize and then put our money and our efforts to fix. As a family court judge, what I'd like to do is implement more of a case management program where upon filing, have a case manager, kind of like they do in St. Johns County, maybe not every 30, 45 days, but at least have one within the first 30, 45 days where we can see the financial impact and the impact on our children in these cases. If there's children, how old are the children? How have they been affected by this split of the family? And also, what are the causations? Is it a financial? Is it a medical? Is it from a PTSD issue from a former service member or a current service member? I think judges, we have a unique opportunity on the family law bench to address some of these issues early on with children of very young ages. And I think that will have a lasting effect in our judicial system years and years and decades down the road.
We're joined by candidate for Circuit Judge Group 9, David Trotti, is on the program. It's the River City Roundtable on WBOB AM 600, The Answer. David, I know a lot of conservatives, when they're listening to this broadcast and they think of judges, the topic of judicial activism, legislating from the bench, comes into the minds of many folks in our audience, and a concern about that. Is that a concern of yours as you run for this seat, and what is your plan to address it?
Well, I believe in the original intent of our Constitution. I believe in strict constructionalism, and I also believe in judicial restraint. I am not there to make new policies on the bench. I am not there to create new laws on the bench. I am there to uphold the laws that are on the book, that are on our statutes and our Constitution. If the Constitution says, great example, the 2014 case, it says our judges in the circuit and county court bench shall be elected, except for some unique situations. That's what the laws are on the book. And until those are changed, we have to support that our circuit and county court judges should be elected. So until the legislative body changes the law, I will uphold the laws in our statutes.
David, I'd like to ask you something. Let's change gears if we can, and I want to talk about sentencing guidelines. Obviously, the face of crime has changed, and it's changing basically for the worse. It seems like every day, violent crime is up, and one of the things that I would like to see, and obviously you can't do this from the bench. I want more of your opinion on this. But do you feel like the sentencing guidelines that are in place for, say, armed robbery and things, especially one of my biggest concerns as a citizen is identity theft. I really feel like folks that are this identity theft, I think when they do get caught, they're getting off way too easy. Do you think we should adjust our sentencing guidelines?
I don't do a lot of felony work. I do a lot of first-time felonies that typically get bumped down to misdemeanor work.
Okay.
I think our sentencing guidelines have been put in place for a reason. And again, until the sentencing guidelines are changed, we have to uphold what they are. And we're limited to what's in place. I do believe that there are some very serious crimes that go unpunished or get watered down. But then there's some lukewarm water crimes that ruin people's lives, where it's a brief moment of or lapse of judgment. And I think that where discretion is available.
David, before we get cut short here, I don't know how much time that we've got you here for today. I wanted to give you the opportunity to give us all your website so people can go learn more about David Trotti.
Yes, our website is trottiforjudge.com. That's TROTTIFORJUDG.com, trottiforjudge.com.
All right, David, thank you for that. A question for you as well is not many people understand the importance of judges when it's time to go to vote. Most people look for the main thing. You look for the president, you look for the governor, and then you see some judges down there, and you just look for the R or the D by the name and just vote for it.
There are no R's and D's.
That's true. That's true. You just look. Yeah, that's true too. So, what do you think? What's the problem with us not being able to get the word out or bringing the information to the people? Because, again, you're on the front lines. You see the people that's coming in. You can, as your interpretation of the law, I know you have some leeway. Different judges might send a child or a family to jail or put harsher penalties than others. How do you think we should do or go about getting the information out to people so they would vote for David Trotti, or a David Trotti-like person to be a judge and fill him up with more people like you as opposed to your opposite or your nemesis, if you will?
Well, it's a great point, and I've been bringing this on the campaign trail with me. We have all these elected officials who get all the paper, all the press, and it's important that we know all of our elected officials before we elect them. But the one elected official that has requirements to run is a judge. We have to be an attorney in good standings for 5 years. And the one elected official that has a direct impact on our society, I'm talking about day one in front of the judge, has an impact on your personal life as a judge. The other elected officials are managers of people. They manage the city, and it's basically their policies, managing their core group, their boards, and implementing their policies and procedures into their office. A judge manages his own office. While he's restricted by civil procedures and the statutes, we have a direct impact on the first day a family law case comes in, the first day a juvenile gets in front of the judge, and right on down the line, direct impact. And there's not enough education, there's not enough focus or press on the judicial candidates and what they bring to the table. I believe a judge needs to have the diversity of life experiences, whether that's running companies, handling family law, criminal law. And I've handled products liability, wrongful death claims, sexual harassment claims earlier in my career. I've handled federal counterfeit claims, bankruptcy claims. So I have a very wide diversity in my pocket, in my reservoir, to be able to pull from to be effective on the bench. And it's very important that our constituents look at the judge, look at their experience, not just how much money they raise, not just the endorsements they might have, but look at their experience and the diversity they bring to the bench. When I say diversity, I'm not just talking about gender or race. I'm talking about a diversity that's colorblind, gender blind, a diversity of your experience and credentials.
David Trotti, he's a candidate for Circuit Judge Group 9. He'll be on your August ballot. Learn more about him at trottyforjudge.com. Mr. Trotti, thank you so much for joining the River City Roundtable this afternoon.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.